What is up, everyone? Welcome back. Today we're checking out the band Distant. They are a down-tempo deathcore band from Rotterdam, Netherlands. They are signed to the Unique Leader Records. And their debut record, or their new record, Tyrannotopia, just came out on 7 June of 2019. Alan asked me to check out the track 010 a few months ago. And I tried to do a video on it last night, but being honest, it wasn't really my thing. But I'm of the opinion that one track might not always sell you on a band, so I figured I would check out Heirs of Troment as well and see if I feel any different about it. Wasn't a fan of 010. I honestly could not make it through the video. But I do want to give these guys a fair shot. So, we're going to check out Distant and the track Heirs of Troment, also coming off their new record. Let's get into it, shall we? The band is Distant, the track is Heirs of Troment, and here we go. The obligatory Unique Leader Records intro, of course. See, I like the riff tone here. The pig squeals are definitely in effect. And this is where I don't love it. You start out straight into a breakdown. Not a big fan. Don't love the mix. The mix is really not where I'd want it. And I'll talk about that a bit more. And we're kind of breaking down the breakdown here. The vocals are really overprocessed. Drums are clearly sample replaced or highly triggered. Do really like that bass tone. That's pretty slick. Drum tones actually sound quite good. And that riff is very cool. There's kind of an ambient texture going on. I really like that. Wish this mix was better and really let that riff breathe better. I don't like where the guitars are in the mix at all. There's some cool riffs here. They're pretty tasty. I like how they let some of that break and guttural feel come into the vocal, even though it's still heavily processed. There's just so many layers of processing on it. That kind of chug that happened was cool. And the ambient texture they're using to tie it together works well. Do you like that double bass passage there? It's a cool cymbal work. Cool shift into a blast there. Drum patterns are evolving and I really dig that. I do like how they keep changing the drum pattern up, throw in some cool little double kick patterns to go back to a single kick. And that really odd tension building synth is a very cool touch. There's just so much chug. It's like you're breaking down the breakdown, the breakdown, the breakdown, that breaks down the breakdown, that breaks down the breakdown. And it's unfortunate because there's some really cool riffs going on in parts of the track. The point where I actually really want to go back and dissect it a little bit, and break out actual points where I'm really into it. That was Distant, that was Heirs of Torment. And I like it better than 010 when I tried to listen to that last night at the time of shooting this video. But I've got the same issues. The good is there's some really cool riffs going on. And there's some really cool drum stuff. I like the shifting patterns. I like how they'll go into a cool slow double bass pattern and then they'll shift it to a single kick and rotate it back and forth like every couple of bars. That's a cool touch. The way that some of those cymbal attack is happening and the mixing on it is really cool. Double bass tone. I like how they did use that clickiness. I'm not normally a fan of clicky double bass, but with that really, to me anyway, odd way that it's mixed, I think it works to cut through all of those lower frequencies that are being so tied up by the bass and these ridiculously down-tuned guitars. I don't like the way the guitars sit in the mix at all. It's just not a fan. I feel like they need to be forward. They need to be right there in that middle front of the track. And they're in this weird hanging in the back wall. And they're a gigantic wall of sound. The bass is more where I expect the guitars to be. Bass player has some cool points to it. The drums definitely sound like there's either some sample replacement or a lot of processing going on. There's a lot of processing in the mix. The mix is ultra sterile, but it's also certain things are muted, certain things are placed really high, like the pig squeals are emphasized far more than I feel like they should be, personally. And the vocals. The vocals are really, 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 really overprocessed. There's a ton of layering, and you just, I don't like those blatantly overprocessed sounding vocals, and you can really tell they are. It tends to happen a lot with newer records where they're trying to emphasize those lows. You get that processing, and it holds it back for me. I'd much rather hear a more raw vocal than I would this really overprocessed studio vocal, because you're not going to hear that live at all. It's not going to sound close to that in a live situation, and so that's a big sticking point. You know, overall, for the niche that really likes this stuff, I'm sure that you guys love it. As a fan of old school death metal, growing up in the late '80s and through the '90s with the death metal stalwarts and the death metal faithful and all those bands, it's not my thing. Songwriting wise, I don't like the onus, the emphasis on so many breakdowns. When 3/4 of the song is breakdowns and breaking down a breakdown and breaking down a breakdown and chug and chug and chug, to me, that's lazy songwriting. It's Like, give me some more riffs. Use breakdowns to create moments, but they don't need to. But most of the track doesn't need to be breakdowns. Some people love it. Some people love the breakdown and the breaking down of the breakdown and the further breaking down of the breaking down of the breakdown. But it's not my thing. And I struggle to get into this stuff. I think the band is talented. And I'd be really curious to hear them in other contexts. But this is what they like to. This is clearly what they like to do. Clearly what they love to do. It's clearly what they like to write. And for that niche group that's into stuff like Black Tongue and Input Annihilator on slowed down meth, or with a combination of like meth and a downer applied, that are actually taking themselves a little more seriously, then you're gonna like this stuff. You know, for that fan base, it's gonna be really good. Not my thing. I do appreciate the opportunity to check out the band, and I do appreciate being contacted by the band. That is outstanding. So thank you for that. And I'm sorry. Sorry, it's just not something that I personally can get into. And I thought about not doing a video, but I feel like at the same time, if I did, that would be disrespectful. So figure I'm going to give you my honest opinion of what I think, regardless of whether it may or may not be. Now, if everything I had to say was completely negative and there weren't things that I liked about it, I might not have put the video up. But there are some really cool parts to the track, and massive kudos to the bass player for having a really strong pick attack on bass to be able to cut himself out some space in the mix, because with that gigantic, really odd wall of, or to me, odd wall of guitar mix, it's really hard. But there's some cool points where you really get to hear that solid attack on those strings, and I like that. So wish you guys well with the release of your debut record, and I hope the fans enjoy it, and I hope you guys kill it live. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you guys. I know the subscriber base out here, it might not be your thing, but I appreciate you checking it out. Anyway, I love you all. Thank you to my law enforcement, military, veterans, and first responders for what you guys do every single day. As always, you've been awesome. I have been Baldman. See you in the next one. Be excellent to each other and keep headbanging.